I think we are now on a stage that we finished the 3D Gen AI part, but now word models, splats, 3D reconstruction, how to bring them together, how to bring them to a game engines. This is the part of the workshop day is starting now. Ian, if you can hear me, I will also spotlight you.
Hello,
So,
hello.
hello. How are you, Ian?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. And thank you, Benny,
Uh,
for the presentation as well. It's great for me to learn a lot more about Trippo.
Yes, amazing, amazing. Yes, this is really interesting. Full AI, Tripo, and Word Labs. I think we literally have all the top superpowers that you can bring the whole scene together. I mean, Word Labs, we are following very closely for the last couple of years, but for the last few months, you already announced a lot of new features. So we would like to hear a little bit about that and maybe also use cases that we would like to see what kind of interesting learnings or use cases you had
Hmm.
internally or during your exposure with your community activities. So maybe you can tell more about that. But on behalf of everyone here, I see the excitement as well. So we are really happy to see World Labs as part of this hackathon. I know that you guys are very busy releasing the next big thing, but joining us not only online but also in person will be really amazing to see you guys. Hopefully, there will be very interesting projects coming up from the hackathon. And without further ado, I want to hand over the mic to you. But everyone, if you have any question, please use the Q&A tab because chat is quite like a crowded. We have to make sure that we don't miss your question. Okay. Thank you, Ian, and stage is yours. Looking forward to hearing more from Word Labs.
Yes, thank you so much. And also really excited to be at the hackathon in about a week and a half. We've done a couple this year already, and it's been really amazing to see all of the crazy cool projects people have been building across a variety of different industries. Yeah, and with that, I'll jump into my presentation for today. A quick intro. Hello, everybody. My name is Ian. I work on the product and design team at World Labs. And today, we will be talking about Marble, our product that we released last November, talk about kind of the inputs that Marble takes and the outputs that it will generate. I'll go through some interactive demos, get excited. We'll all be able to play together multiplayer and walk through a Marble world together. It's from my experience, a lot better way to describe and showcase kind of these 3D environments rather than just kind of 2D images. And then third, we're going to go through Marble workflows and showcase kind of how some of these worlds were generated and created. And then end with kind of some use case examples across a variety of industries, including robotics, gaming, VFX, and augmented and virtual reality. And then, yes, we'll end with some Q&A as well. So to start off, really simply, is Marble creates persistent 3D worlds from text, images, and video that you can explore, edit, and build on. And so some of these videos you're seeing in the background here, again, is a variety of different use cases. In the bottom right is a VFX example of Marble on like a really large virtual production screen. On the bottom left is like an augmented reality experience using kind of phone as a portal. We have an Unreal Engine game at the bottom there. And there's a lot of other demos that we'll be going over. So on a high level, Marble turns multimodal inputs into 3D worlds. And these four here are kind of the core four inputs. First here is text. For example, in a detailed lived-in hobbit kitchen filled with woven baskets and copper kettles. And then this fly-through is a video, a kind of 360 fly-through of that kitchen, which is a full 3D GS environment. And then one of our most popular inputs is image, of course, on the top right here. You get a beautiful image of a waterfall and you're able to move around this persistent space. And then videos, these could be AI generated videos, or we've seen a lot of use cases of people filming their own house or filming a street here around the corner of our office, for example, then being able to reconstruct that into a 3D persistent environment. And then on the bottom right here is multi-image, which is a bit more fun, where you can kind of mix and match different types of input images that might be fairly different and kind of see how the model warps them together into a singular space. And then with these inputs, you'll get a variety of different outputs. First is 3DGS. We allow you to output a selection of different numerical Gaussian Splat amounts. So you could do like lower amounts of 300K to 1 million Gaussian Splats. And this kind of feeds into kind of your down the road workflow on how optimized you want the splats to be. And then we also will export collider meshes, kind of a quick lower poly collider mesh, or what we call a HD collider mesh. And so here's what you're seeing that for. And we see a lot of that in robotic simulations and or games that need the collider mesh for physics. And then some of the best image types, and I'll go over some of these examples in the Marble Explorer page, but you want to have kind of a straight eye level view that has high contrast. So aerial shots usually don't generate or reconstruct as well, but think about this as like you're walking through the space from eye level, or a human perspective is usually going to get the best output for the Marble environments. And then next, I will head over to marble.worldlabs.ai. I'm going to encourage anybody here to do that as well. Once you land on our site here, you have the Explorer page. And what's cool about the Explorer page is it's going to showcase a bunch of generations that our users have created today. And you can click into one. I have some open here. For example, here's a nice cabin in the woods. And you can also get to the download of the assets here, and also view kind of the input image. So it's really helpful for me if I find an environment or a world that I really like, that I can click on the download info and kind of explore and look at that input image. And so I'm kind of learning from the community on what type of images work really well, and some that may not work as well either. And then, so you can create these environments, and then the really cool aspect is bringing it into your current workflows. So here, if you join robot/roommates.netlify.app, we can actually all jump into this game together. It's a game that we built on the team using Three.js, Spark.js, which is a renderer for 3D Gaussian Splats. And it is a full stitched together Marble world. And encourage everybody to, if you go to robot/roommates.netlify.app, or you can join also via your phone and this QR code. So there we go. We got somebody jumping in here. And so this full environment was generated with Marble. And Britt, who I think is also on the call here, helped put together this environment. And so essentially it was built with about 10 different input images, and each of these rooms were then stitched together. So it looks like we got a lot of people in here, which is cool. And so what I'm going to do as well is pull my debug menu here. So this is just kind of showing the simple collider meshes that are laid on top of the Gaussian splat, so that as my character moves around, I'm not clipping through these 3D Gaussian splats. And then also the collider mesh acts as a shadow catcher. So the robot itself here, you can see at the bottom, has a shadow. And then also the collider meshes will mask out the shadows as well. And that's a problem that I've run into in the past, where shadows have opacity to them, and Gaussian splats have a lot of opacity to them as well. And so kind of the rendering will overlap there, but this process of kind of overlapping the collider mesh is really helpful to get kind of these nice shadows and And so, yeah, I'm glad everybody's kind of walking around and exploring. This is kind of an example of a fun, creative game experience you can build. This was built with the help of Fable as well, where we imported the model, the collider meshes, and then uploaded some of these robot models and then placed them around different environments. And I'll jump on to the next step of the presentation, but I just want to show this at the end. It's a fun little photo of all the robot roommates here. So cool. And here is a time lapse of the environment being put together. Again, Britt, who's the creative artist on our team, she's one of the best world builders I know. And this is the editor on the Marble website. So essentially allows you to upload 3D GS environments or Marble generated environments, and then have some tooling such as erasing and transforms of 3D GS to kind of what we call stitch these together to then create a larger, more explorable 3D world. And so now I'm going to kind of go over some of the more broad use cases within the industry. I'll start off with gaming and VFX here, go into AR and VR, and then robotics. And I'll kind of just play these videos and talk to them as there are a lot of different use cases from the community. But a lot of these initially here are built on 3JS. This one I showed you guys at the beginning was built on a Unreal Engine, but a lot of our community will build games on the web or 3JS. One, for the accessibility reasons, and then two, the World Labs team has helped to build and share Spark.js, which I'll talk about more on, which is a 3D GS renderer for 3JS. And then here's virtual production use cases. This is actually a creator we worked with named Josh, who went to his street he grew up on in London and actually took a photo and then brought that photo into Marble, regenerated it with kind of this like creepy zombie-esque style, and then was able to create a full persistent 3D environment that he then used for a zombie video that he built. I'll flip through here, but yes, these are some virtual production use cases and then kind of environments for 3D rendering. And one of my favorite, I've worked in AR and VR for a while now, and so it's really awesome to see all the use cases in mixed reality. This is on the Vision Pro, which I haven't had too much experience with, but more so the Quest 3. We have a demo on our website that allows you to open Marble worlds. Oh yeah, and all Marble worlds from our Explore page can be opened on the Quest, and it's a lot more immersive to look through them that way. There's some web augmented reality experiences. And with these demos, you can see the hands, but you can interact with the 3D Gaussian splats, and they kind of move around as you move your hands through the splats, which are really fun. And then more technical background, not my expertise per se, but robotics. What I can talk about this is the outputs from Marble are used here heavily, specifically the collider meshes, especially for kind of all the physics simulations of the robots moving throughout the environment or like placing objects on counters, etc. That the HD collider meshes are super helpful for the robotics workflow here. And then I talked about this briefly. This is Spark.js, which is a 3D GS renderer built on top of 3JS. And the World Labs team has built this and also open sourced this tooling. And so I absolutely love this. It's so fun to use Spark with any of your AI tools like Fable, because you're able to render these massive 3D Gaussian splats with what we recently released in Spark 2.0, which is LOD. And so LOD, for those that are unfamiliar, essentially will render kind of the detail of splats depending on your distance. And so as you move the camera around, we will render splats super high detail that are closer to you and within the camera frustum. And so this kind of just optimizes the ability to view splats on the web with this use case. And if you're curious, you can go to the World Labs website under Research and Insights, and we have a blog that goes over all of the details and updates for Spark 2.0, and they all have these interactive links you can go to see the updates live. And what I do want to pull up here is one of my favorite Spark 2.0 examples is the Koi Tower. So what you're seeing here is that green kind of initial load. I'll reload the page here. So this is kind of the LOD tree being loaded in. And this, for some background here, this is a 40 million Gaussian Splat file that is just running in my browser. And for that load time is pretty crazy fast. Those are familiar with Gaussian Splats, like that is absurdly fast from my experience. And so you can kind of see if I turn really quick, you can see some of the LOD loading in. But this is a really fun example, and encourage everyone to go onto the website and look at some of these large splats. But it's really fun to see the detail in this as you fly around and kind of see the splat update. So yeah, if you're building with Marble in the web, strongly suggest using Spark 2.0. And also you can learn a lot from it from this blog. And then also, if you want to explore other 3D games built with Marble, Icarus was one that we worked with a creative studio that was released about 3 weeks ago. This was a highlight showcase game that uses Spark along with 3JS, and all the assets in here are 3D Gaussian Splats, and the worlds as well you'll see as the character walks through here. And so it's a great example of kind of showcasing the tooling and connection of GLB models, 3D Gaussian Splats, web, with kind of the marriage of all these together to create a really compelling, interesting game. And then on top of that, they do a lot of amazing post-processing effects to kind of bring it to the next level, a lot of lighting, shadows, etc., to really bring a really compelling web game. And I can maybe pull this up live too. I'll let that load for a second. And then also, for any inspiration, I strongly suggest people to head to our website and then our community showcase page. And our community showcase page is going to show a variety of different projects. We also have GitHubs that will link straight to the projects if you're curious about the workflow. And this will show workflows with an Unreal Engine, Unity, 3JS, and other types of DCCs, and is a really, really fun place to explore. Let's see. So here's if you go to card./game.world, you can play this experience, which also includes 8 different Marble worlds that you can explore. And so with that, yeah, that is a high-level overview of Marble, the different types of industries that we've seen use cases used, and then some really awesome creative projects that our community has built. And yeah, thank you.
Amazing. I'm checking every time, and then there's another new project or use case that you guys are showcasing. This is amazing. I don't know. I was just telling at the chat as well. People were talking about WebXR, Fable, and World Labs Absolute Cinema. Really.
Oh, it is. Yeah, and I've been exploring a lot with WebXR too, and it's been really fun. Just using Spark specifically, it's my first time that I'm able to render large Gaussian Splats without the frame rate dropping to 5 FPS and me getting sick. It's the LOD is super helpful, and I've been bringing in Marble worlds and being able to scale them up, or just creating portals, or I've tried to 3D reconstruct my apartment and then kind of shrink it down and be able to view it in WebXR. Anyways, there's a lot of creative use cases to kind of connect all these tools.
we also shared the Word Labs showcase, community showcase page on chat. So anyone who would like to check and then even hop on to one of these worlds, you can already do that. So we have a couple of questions. Ian, let me quickly ask. Kyle is asking, Word Labs Marble inputs, 360-degree footage future. Will we be able to upload 360-degree video, remove camera person? Is it the ultimate input for realism going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to first answer, you can currently upload a static 360 image into Marble and then generate a scene. And we've certainly gotten feedback and are looking into the ability to upload 360 video. And we've gotten this feedback a lot from people who are doing reconstruction of sites, specifically museums or kind of older buildings. And so, for example, like our video upload doesn't support 360 video upload, but it supports video upload, which then is transferred into, because videos are just a bunch of images, and then we generate that to create that environment. But yes, to answer your question, unfortunately not right now, but in the near future, it's something that we're exploring and looking into, and certainly have gotten a lot of feedback around. And I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, it's amazing. So maybe in the following hackathon, we can have access to these new features. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you share the source code for this web app? I know which one is being referred to. You talk about that on 10, 11 minutes, I guess. In any case, do you have, we can have maybe a list of all the resources if you want, or how we should proceed on that?
Yeah, I can, I'll actually share, sorry, bear with me. I'm just gonna share a link here in the chat.
Okay.
We have the Learn page on our website, but this Notion page is what we call our starter kit. It's really helpful. It has a lot of tutorials on the collider meshes. Britt, again, who I keep referring to, is the creative artist on our team. She's built out a lot of these tutorials that showcase the character controller and collider meshes. And then if the question was asked about the robot game source code, yeah, I think we'd be happy to open source that. That's sitting on my computer right now, so I can certainly just open source that and would love to have people look at that. But on a high level, it's just connecting our collider mesh tutorial, character controller, and then the kind of stitched overall scene. And then to give some more background, that 3D multiplayer game is using Socket.io to create kind of the multiplayer servers for people to join in.
Amazing.
And this is all built on the web via 3JS.
Yes, amazing. All the links, we can also put that inside the Notion page, overall Notion page of the hack. So for those who are really looking forward to check, you can already do that. Because there are so many links piled up, I want to make sure that everyone can see all the Word Labs things. Daniel is asking, could you create a collider mesh for a reality captured 3D GS?
Well, so as of right now, you would need to generate that environment in Marble for us to generate the collider mesh. So we don't have a workflow where you can upload a pre-captured environment and then create a collision mesh from that. That being said, there are some like open source examples, even in that starter kit that we've showed, where you can use some open source examples to then generate a collision map from a pre-generated environment. Just within Marble as of right now, we don't have the ability to upload a pre-captured environment and then generate a collider mesh. It's just generated environments from Marble that we create the collider meshes from. And then another workflow too, depending on the complexity of the scene, is you can always do it manually, which I know people may be indifferent on this thought, but for me, like if the scene is fairly simple, like just creating box geometry, even if it takes like 20 to 30 minutes is almost better, just because box geometry is so optimized that for like running on the web, it's Again, if the scene is simple, just you can create some boxes for the collision meshes.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
Carol is asking, how does that take to render or generate? Maybe how long does take render or generate?
Yeah. So I'll answer that in two parts, if I'm hearing this correct. So to generate a Marvel world, it takes about 4 to 5 minutes, and then to render it is, I guess, a separate question. It's fairly instant, depending on kind of what DCC you're using. I know Unity and Unreal Engine kind of have different plugins on how to render and how to process 3DGS, but for 3JS, which with Spark, which I can talk best to, it's fairly instant. Like for example, that 40 million Gaussian Splat file of Coit Tower was, that was a web page that was rendering instantly. And I've tested that even when it's not cached. So it's just like, it's literally within seconds, especially of LOD to load that, which is really
Perfect.
cool.
There's a one comment called Stranger Things to Lost in Space. I think they refer to your friend's thing. Grace is asking, by the way, Grace is also building a lot on word models from the beginning. Grace, she's having a very nice Playhouse platform. Maybe Grace, you can also send. What are the best recommendations? What are the best recommendations for optimizing and getting HD splats loading smoothly and fast on web? How you are stitching splats together to extend them? Is that something we can build on?
Yeah. I think to answer your first question, to get Gaussian splats rendering on the web really quick, is number one, use Spark.js, use LOD, and then second is there's a .rad file that Spark.js enables. And so if you load a splat with Spark currently, at runtime, we essentially create the LOD tree in the splat every time. So that process takes a couple seconds, which isn't great. What you can do is you can pre-process the LOD tree. And I can share some documentation, sorry, because this gets a bit complex, but you can pre-process the LOD tree via a .rad file, which is in the Spark.js documentation. And you can do this just via cursor. You can upload your file and say, I want to convert this to RAD. And then that way it already calculates the LOD tree so that it just loads like instantly, which is awesome.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
We can talk for robotics World Labs team. One person is asking, but the person is anonymous, so I don't know who wants to talk with you about robotics. But I'm sure if you guys coming to the hack, you will see the World Labs team in person. Kyle is asking, is Spark.js useful for VR, Quest 3, or only web use cases?
Yeah. And I can answer the other question too. Yeah, if you have any questions about robotics, like please reach out to support at worldlabs.ai and the team can help answer your question. And then the second question of was that so it's Spark on WebXR or the web? Was that the question?
Sorry, is Spark.js useful for VR or only web use cases?
Yeah, so Spark.js is built specifically for 3JS, so any web-related rendering. So if you do use it for VR, you'll have to do it via WebXR to use the capabilities of Spark. And then with 3JS, yeah, WebXR is on top of 3JS for the web or WebXR. So
perfect. Tianyue is asking, what is the accuracy of collider meshes?
Yeah, so great question. We have two collider mesh export options for Marble. There's kind of the basic collider mesh, which will export within like a second. And that, I mean, it's hard to like, I guess, state a certain number because every world is different, but that is not as like high quality as the HD collider mesh. The HD collider mesh will run for about 45 minutes. So you can press the export option and then we run kind of this super HD workflow from behind. And I would say the HD collider mesh is like, pretty close, like 1-to-1 on alignment with the Gaussian splats. The basic one that generates within like a second is, yeah, I can take it with a grain of salt, but it's not perfectly aligned. The basics of it is aligned, but there's some parts where it doesn't align perfectly.
Perfect. I think we have a similar question. What is the accuracy of 3D collider meshes that you're able to generate? I think same question. Camilo Cortez is asking, I'm using Nerve Studio running on local to generate the environment splat, real cities and some forests, but it's demanding in local resources and sometimes not the best quality. Do you know any other workflow or app I can use for better splats, fast or less demanding running on local only? I'm using high quality images that works perfect on Bentley, RC, 3D flow, photogrammetry constructions, but not so much on Nerve Studio. I just want to mention that right after Ian, we have XGrids and Opus Labs 3D reconstruction session as well. But Ian, happy to hear if you have anything to chime in here.
Yeah, I guess I don't know too much of the workflow that was stated there. So I might lend this to XGrids for kind of the reconstruction experts themselves. That being said, you can certainly upload images to Marble that you've taken, or 360 images to reconstruct a singular space. Sorry if that didn't answer the question too much. I guess it was kind of
yeah, it's like a
tough to understand. Yeah.
Yeah, because as everyone know, right, there are two types of splats. One of them is coming directly from word models like word labs, but another is directly from this reality scans, 3D reconstruction, which the good news is we did everything back to back so that we can also make both word model and 3D GS reconstruction like experts and enthusiasts happy. So yeah, we will answer this question with Lucas Mirocha from Opus Lab. He is one of the top experts on that, so he will definitely guide you to the right direction. Hai Song is asking, is there any spatial sound in the word model generation?
As of right now, there's not. So some of the spatial sounds that I added were generated via 11 Labs, and then with Fable, it was able to kind of place those sounds, talking specifically to that robot roommate's environment, which is pretty cool. Like with Fable, it kind of understood, like for the disco room, that's where the spatial sound would be placed. So when my robot walked into there, like that's when the disco sound started, and when I left, it would go back to kind of the elevator music of the game.
Amazing.
So yeah, not as of right now, but certainly something that we're looking into.
Okay. Can word models create data to train robotics models like for humanoid or autonomous cars?
Yes, very much so. So we have a lot of different customers that use Marble to generate massive amounts of data. And by data, I mean 3D environments. So for a lot of these robotics companies, they need, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of different 3D environments of like kitchens per se, or city streets, etc. And so this Marble essentially allows you to generate these 3D environments at a very large scale. And yeah, to answer the question, the amount of simulation that people can run the robots on in these environments is what's really helpful.
I think it will be like robotics will be probably top 3 use cases of word models and 3DGS in the next
agreed.
few years. So
agreed.
Yes. So who knows? Maybe we will also have something about that in the future. Let's see. Carol is asking, how quickly can the render change a piece in the splat of a new splat?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that question. So how quick can a render change a piece of a splat?
Piece in the splat of a new splat. How quickly can the render change a piece in the splat of a new splat?
Yeah, I guess this could be more of like a visual question. I guess I could answer it in 2 ways. If you're trying to change like a section of a splat in the render, like I mean, you can certainly change the colors or tweak the colors of splats. And or I mean with the LOD, right? Like you can certainly change the amount of LOD you want to put on the splat itself. If you want to optimize it more, you can make the LOD a bit more obvious. If you want it like super high detail, you know, for example, when I will send out a public project, like I'll change the LOD to be pretty high just so that it can run on any sort of device.
Perfect, perfect. Daniel is asking, could create collider meshes from reality scan 3D Could we create collider meshes from reality scan 3D
Yeah, and I think that question was already asked, but on a high level, you can't do it via Marble workflow. You have to do it via a generated world in Marble and then create a collider mesh. But we do have there's open source examples to create collider meshes for 3DGS.
Perfect. Can you upload multiple images to Marble for scene reconstruction?
Yeah. Yeah, so you can upload multiple images, and essentially what the video input is doing is we're essentially extracting images from frames in a video to then reconstruct the scene. So you can do it via video, or you can also upload you know, a group of photos. And this is what I've done personally to kind of restylize my apartment, as I've taken photos of my living room, reconstruct it, and then in Marble been able to stylize it to a different type of interior design, and then get to reconstruct that environment in 3DGS.
Would you need to stitch the images together, or?
You don't. So if it's kind of a singular environment, you don't. If you're doing multiple different rooms, then yes. As of right now, you'd have to do like my bedroom and then maybe my living room. But my living room and kitchen is a pretty open area, so I just can take images of that environment and then it reconstructs it.
Perfect. Dave is asking, what is the best renderer for G-Splats for Unity?
I don't have it at the top of my mind right now. I'll have to reference the starter kit, or we do have it listed in our documentation on the Marble website. So I'm happy to share that. But we have a list of 2 to 3 different renderers for Unity specifically.
Okay. Camilo is asking, does WordLabs have a non-public solution encrypted for intelligence environments reconstructions?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Does WordLabs have a non-public solution encrypted for intelligence environments reconstructions?
Yeah, I guess the question is if we have like an open source version to reconstruct environments.
Non-public solution. Does WordLabs have a non-public solution? It says. Encrypted for intelligence environments reconstructions.
Yeah, I guess to best of my ability to answer that, a non-public, I guess Marble is non-public and you can reconstruct environments. Sorry, I guess I'm trying to understand that question better, but
maybe Camilo, you can repeat the question one more time. We will come back to that. In extension to the last questions, training robots will require accurate data. Are we able to reach that point now using Marble? How accurate the Marble output now for robots? I think that's the question.
Yeah, so I can certainly say, like, we've had a lot of robotics customers have success in training robotic simulations and how Marble currently stands. So yeah, to answer that question, like we've had, you know, customers that generate massive amounts of data and environments and then train their robots, and they've had success with it at the current fidelity.
Perfect. Anthony is asking, can you upload CAD drawings, front, side, top views of a site, and have WordLabs generate the environment based from that reference?
So this, from just kind of the best input images, having perspective is really important. The model needs to read space kind of with a perspective vision. So if you're uploading like a flat kind of side profile of a building, especially if there's not a lot of detail in it, it will generate. You just may not have the best success. We've had like mixed outputs with kind of that workflow. So I would, best suggest like if you can get kind of more of a perspective input, you'll have better output.
Perfect. And Stephanie is asking, can you input 360 pano images?
Yes, 100%. So you can upload 360 pano images, and then you can also edit those and customize them. And again, like something I've done in my living room, right? Like I've taken a 360 pano, and then I can like change that into different interior design styles.
Amazing. Vishal is asking, as a developer building editing tools on top, what does the output actually expose? A raw, PLI, SPZ, blob, or object and semantic structure with an editing SDK?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we actually have a lot of customers that are building products on top of Marble with our API. And that you can find on our website as well on the very top, which will lead you to our documentation. And with that, you're able to export PLY, SPZ, you're able to export the collider mesh. And there's a kind of a longer list of all these little attributes you tweak, but also kind of like what you input. You can allow users to input a single image, multiple images, a pano. You can use API to also like edit images. So it's kind of like that whole workflow of input, editing, customization, and then also the output of like what you get from that. And so with kind of the selection of workflows, people have built some pretty compelling products so far with Marble.
Amazing. Sorry, we have a lot of questions and interest.
No, this is great. These are all great questions.
We can always continue at the hack, but yeah, I just don't want to, because it looks like the chat is also helping each other answering questions. So we already started the community.
Too. So that's the best.
The hack started even on the chat right now. So Richard is asking, will we be able to scan 3D GS using Quest 3 headset in the future, or is mobile phones in the best easiest option?
Yeah, I guess not totally related to Marble, but a great question. For scanning specifically, like my favorite go-to app on the phone is Scaniverse. It's like fun fact, I helped design some of the UX of that at Niantic, and it's free. So that is a great app to use. I've also tested scanning on the Quest 3 via their kind of workflows, and also it's really compelling too. So and then Marble, what's great about Marble is like you don't need a device. You can just take a photo, and so the accessibility on reconstruction there is really easy.
Lucas, maybe right after you may also answer this in directly 3D reconstruction question. Grace has one more question. How are you stitching splats together to extend them? Is that something we can build on within our own apps? This is actually a little bit interesting question, because if the splats coming from a word model, right? So stitching them versus asking Word Labs to extend that, which one like you that makes sense actually? This interesting actually, like a dilemma, I would say. How would you approach that?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. So yeah, to help answer that, as of right now, we do have like what we call the expand feature in Marble. So starting from your initial image, you're able to move a certain distance from the center of your environment to then regenerate another part of your environment to extend it. But as of right now, that's kind of the extent of automatic kind of stitching is what we call it. So once you have kind of that one generation expanded, you can also do it in different directions, but you're kind of still stuck to this diameter that you can expand out to. And then from there, you will have to do manual reconstruction. And so this is certainly something that we've gotten a lot of feedback on that, people don't want to have to go through that manual process of stitching scenes together or combining them all together. So yeah, to answer your question, you can do the scene expand, which will get you part of the way there. But to get kind of larger worlds, you will have to manually stitch them together. But we are very much working on making that feature and workflow much easier and much more automated than it currently is.
Amazing. Tianyu has another question. For your example of bedroom kitchen scene reconstruction, how many photos needed? Just one photo? How long did it take for that kind of home space? What is the compute infrastructure on your end?
Yeah, so great question as well. You can, and this is kind of up to the workflow, right? So, for example, I've done one photo where I just take a photo of my living room where my couch is, etc., and then I'm generating that scene. And what I did, and these are two separate use cases, but I like just took one photo, generated what my furniture looked like, and then for fun, I put it into my VR headset and then aligned it to my living room so that I could walk through it in physical / digital space with my VR headset on. And I just wanted to see my furniture. So like that was good enough for me. That being said, if you want to reconstruct your living room one-to-one, like you will need that data of a full 360 pano if you want to make sure everything is how it is in the real world. Because if you just upload one image, like the back of that will, Marble will generate what it thinks that backside is going to look like. So the more data you can put in, the better output you're going to get. So you can take one photo if that works for you, or for me, I took like 6 photos going around in like a circle to get more data, and then the reconstruction was pretty close one-to-one of my living room.
What is your best workflow for touch-ups, cleaning up localized areas of hallucination? Would expand work from there? If you don't need to extend it, just improve areas that already exist?
Yeah, so I think best to answer that question, if you're having hallucinations like in your generated 3D GS scenes, it's best to start from the beginning of the workflow, like make sure that the inputs is correct, or even if you upload an image and then it generates a 360 panel, like editing within that 360 panel first before you get to the 3D GS stage. Because if the input is solid, like you're gonna have better outputs. Instead of getting the output and then trying to edit from there, it's possible, but it's just kind of harder of a workflow.
Mm-hmm. Camilio give some more context to his question. I'm meaning if I create showcase and for military training purposes, do you have some solution that for that public can't view it or use it? So I think
I
he means
see. Sorry.
feeding data to work labs. So
great question. Sorry about my misunderstanding there. Yeah, so we certainly allow you to set private generations and private inputs. So that means no one else. Yeah, so the Explore page that you see on Marble right now is specifically people who have enabled public access and or they're on the free tier and just are generating worlds. So you can certainly have the ability to set it private so that you can only see these generations, or when you share it with somebody else, like they can only see it and nobody else.
Okay. We have a few more questions left. If you are still okay.
No, of course.
Vishal is asking, is the collider mesh whole scene or per object? And does the API expose any semantic or instance labels on the field, or is object selection left entirely to the developer?
Yeah, great question as well. So as of right now, Marble generates a kind of persistent and cohesive 3D environment. So there is no segmentation. That being said, that's feedback that we've gotten a bunch of, and we are certainly looking into that. We also had a designer on our team who built out open source GitHub called Image Blaster that essentially uses other tooling. It creates a Marble environment, and then what it will do is it will segment objects within the scene and then generate that using FAL to create 3D models, and then also adds physics to it so that you to your point, you're able to segment what objects you want out, like for example, a chair or a table or a pot that are not baked into the scene.
Yes, Image Blaster, amazing, from Nelson, right? He's
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
I think our team Elbit mentioned about that as well in the future workflow discussion. So that's great. Kyle is asking SPZ or SOG? Which one you prefer? Or
Oh,
for which
I mean,
purpose?
personally, I'm just a fan of SPZ. One, because I got to work on creating that file type at Niantic, so that I'm maybe a bit biased, but also it's just really optimized for the web, and I'm a huge fan of the web, so SPZ for me. That being said, I love all file types for 3DGS.
Exactly. Vishal is asking, is the collider, yeah, we already talked about that. Yinan is asking how to generate two words that are identical on the location, but only has one wall using different splats. Editing on Peno that generate the word seems shifting the word a bit.
Um, Yeah, maybe it's like seeing some visuals for that would be helpful. I will say that Rit, our creative artist, has built a tool where she's able to like mirror splats. And for her, it's been like really helpful in building out environments, especially if like one part of the splat looks really good and you just want to get the exact mirrored or like flipped version of that splat. So she's got this workflow that she's been using to kind of build out those environments.
That's great. Let's definitely bring that up in the hackathon. Yinan is
Yeah.
also one of our prominent hackers. She also won one of the tracks last time. So she's really into that. Thank you, Yinan. Dave, any plans to support VRS file ingestion coming from Hyperscape Capture Meta?
Um, As of right now, I'll have to. I haven't experimented too much with Hyperscape, so I can't speak like personally to that. If they make it the ability to integrate it with like Spark JS, I mean, I think we'd be happy to collaborate on that. But really, like the web or Spark JS from our side is we're supporting as much as we can.
Amazing, amazing. I think we have two questions left. One of them is how many
Yeah,
Word Labs credits we will get. I think just enough because we will also, even free tier also provides a lot of opportunities, but we will provide a lot of Word Labs credits. From last hackathon, we understand how much demand is
yeah,
happening, so we will definitely make sure that it will be ready. And for the winners of the Word Labs category, you will also get more so that you can continue your work after the hack.
yeah.
Kamil is asking who owns credit to model splat. I don't know, like credits. It's, who's owned? I think the ownership, I guess. Kamil is asking.
Who owns the credits for like, I guess Marvel? Is that the question?
Who owns credit to model splat? I think, as far as I understand, who is owning the splat being generated? I think the user itself, right?
Yeah, so I guess if that goes back to like the public-private question, like yeah, once you generate the splat, it's your ownership on depending on like what plan. So
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We
I think we
had
have some more info on our website about that. And then for the credits, we're super excited to help out with a bunch of credits, both for free max plans for Marble, and then also API credits for people who want to integrate it into their products. So yeah, both if you want to generate environments and stitch them together and build a really cool world, or if you want to build a product on top of the tooling we have on our API.
exactly, exactly. That's amazing. One last question, if you let's finish
Yeah,
maybe
of
before
course.
the time. Is it better to upload combined HDR images or upload multiple bracket images to Marble?
Um, so sorry, what was the bracketed images? What was that
Yeah,
second?
bracketed images to. Is it better to upload combined HDR images or upload multiple bracketed images for to Marble?
Um, I guess it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're uh and what you're able to do, right? Like if you're reconstructing your living room, I would go to that example. Like if you want it to be exactly one to one, then I think you should grab a 360 pano of the living room, because then you can capture every single detail. Or I mean, you can upload a couple photos, but just know, like, behind the scenes, we're generating the connection between those images, so that again, we're I guess hallucinating those connections that we don't have data to, so that it may be like a digital cousin, I like to say, where if you don't have the full data input, like, we're gonna generate those parts of the input that we don't understand or we don't have.
Yeah, perfect.
So
One last question: Will Word Labs or Marble host on Reactor?
I do not know yet. I know one of my close friends works at Reactor, so we will certainly need to talk to them about that. But it would be cool. More experiments and more creative use cases I could certainly see happening.
Perfect. Evo is asking, thank you for answering production questions regarding ownership, IP, and creator clearances. If files are able to be used in a wider array of projects, such as broadcast media, help us clear for storytelling and distribution. Let's follow up in person in LA. I think this is the perfect last question.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think we almost 50 questions. So I think we are really great answering all of them. Thank you, Ian.
Of course.
It was a little bit longer than expected, but I think it was worth it. Apparently, the hype is real, the interest is real. So let's bring this interest to something tangible at the hackathon.
Yes, and thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the community. And I'm excited to see some really cool projects. I've already been blown away by all the hackathon projects I've seen this year. So I know there's going to be some awesome ones next weekend.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Word Labs. And hopefully we will see the Word Labs team at the hack, mentoring, judging. So happy to also continue the conversation there. Thanks for your time for today, and looking forward to seeing you in the next 10 days.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.